I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, RHS. I'm Rose Patrick.
And I'm Adam Grote.
And this is your daily dose for Friday, March 10th, 2017.
If you have not yet turned in your newspaper or yearbook application, you have until March 10th to do so in Mrs. Haddad room C119.
As part of SAD's Impaired Driving campaign, there is a driving simulator today during all lunches and during all classes.
Also, the SAD banner was moved to the cafeteria. Take a picture with the banner and post the picture with hashtag SAD and your graduation year.
This is your last chance to buy your yearbook before sales close for the year. You have until March 17th to purchase yours for $65. See Mrs. Haddad in room C119 to place your order.
All juniors interested in taking AP US History next year, pick up an application form from Mr. Haley. They are due March 17th.
The art department is having their first annual district-wide art show at the Downriver Council for the Arts. This opens today from 5:30 to 8.
Henry Ford College will be offering a financial aid night on Tuesday, March 14th. You do not need to be a future Henry Ford student to attend this meeting. It is open to all students planning to attend college.
You're not going to want to forget to buy your tickets for the St. Patty's Glow Dance. It will be held Saturday, March 18th. Tickets are $10 in advance and $15 at the door. Tickets and guest forms are available in the counselor's office. Don't miss out on this awesome night.
If you want to help out the shop students with their project, make sure to donate as little as $1 by purchasing a paper can in the post or from Mrs. Rankin. This is not a canned food drive, just donations for purchasing a certain numbers of cans for their builds.
Happy birthday to Nick Bartolotta,
Elizabeth Batista,
Haley Buckner,
Justin Digna,
Adrienne Gonzalez,
Sabrina Hinojosa,
Autumn Jones,
Ariana Lister,
Logan Majewski,
and Brooklyn Neifert. Hey Rose.
What, Adam?
Have you ever tried to eat a clock?
No, I haven't. Have you?
It's very time consuming.
I'm Rose Patrick.
I'm Adam Grote.
Stay safe in RHS.
Now stay tuned for this week's Friday Focus.
Today's Friday Focus is all about keeping the Earth cool. We'll start with what global warming is, then go to the halls and test your knowledge, and give a real-time weather outlook with On the Dot Weather. With anchors Matt Harris and Josh Bazura, uniting forces to protect the Earth, comes YTV's very own Friday Focus.
Good morning, RHS. I'm Matt Harris.
And I'm Josh Bazura, and this is your Friday Focus for March 10th, 2017.
So, I'm pretty sure we all know about this rock we live on called Earth. A lot of us aren't very sure, though, about what's happening to Earth. A little something called global warming. I'm sure most of you have heard about it, but I'm sure most of you do not know the true consequences of it and how drastic it can be to our future.
Global warming is the rapid increase in temperature in our Earth's climate over the past 50 years. What causes global warming is when carbon dioxide and other air pollutants and greenhouse gases collect in the atmosphere that have absorbed solar radiation that has bounced off of the Earth's surface. The effects of global warming are early snowmelt and severe droughts that will cause major water shortages and wildfires in the west of the country.
You know, a lot of times the Friday Focus is about debate, but I mean, we all know that global warming is a hoax invented by China. It's fake news. It's not real. But in reality, we're here to talk about global warming, and we're not going to debate too much about it because we both agree that there's enough scientific evidence to back it that I wouldn't feel comfortable arguing against it. It's just there's heaps on heaps of evidence supporting it. So, I mean, some of that stuff we're going to talk about today. So this is more going to be an explanation type of thing.
Yeah, speaking about scientific evidence, one of the main backers of global warming is just the CO2 levels, and CO2 is carbon dioxide, if you didn't know. So Earth's carbon dioxide levels, we have accurate measurements from the glacier sheets in Antarctica, and our current carbon dioxide levels are the highest they've been in 650,000 years. That's over the past 7 ice ages. For frame of reference, the human era has only been around for roughly 7,000 years.
That's a pretty unreal fact. Some of the stuff, even though I believe this is absolutely a thing, some of the stuff when I read it, it's still shocking to read. This what is it? Yeah, all 10 of the top 10 hottest years in recorded history, and they've been doing this since 1880. happened since 1998. So I mean, that there are cycles. What's happening is partially cyclical with heat rising and heat dropping, but we're not making it any better. I mean, we're definitely the main cause for why it is so much hotter now than it's ever been before. And I mean, you look at the greenhouse effect, you look at our carbon dioxide levels, and it's simple to just look at why it's happening. So I mean, I don't know. I just think there's too much supporting it to argue against it.
Yeah, and speaking of like those rising heat, like the average heat for the past 10 years, that impacts not only you but the ice sheets. And I know there's kind of a meme, I guess you could call it,
Yeah.
of like save the ice sheets, but it really does affect us. Rising sea levels does affect us. It affects other people too. For example, the sea levels have risen 6.7 inches in the last century. So what that means is island nations, and even closer to us, like such as Louisiana, they're literally sinking.
Yeah.
People live there. Environments that rely on those islands are going to drown, and it's just because of us.
Yeah, I mean, when you get islands like that are secluded, you could lose entire species of animals, first of all. Second of all, you look at coastal cities, like cities like New York, Boston, LA, could literally just not be there, like within the next few generations. Like, they could just not be cities anymore. They're just underwater. It's Atlantis now. Sorry, you don't live here. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And I mean, when you talk about the global warming, it's not just like a straight warming all the time. It's not like cold's going to go away. It's that you hit both extremes. You get bitter cold, like much colder than it normally is, and then you get much hotter than it normally is. And you even, they cross over. There's crossover, but it extremely affects all weather. It's not going to be cold. I've heard some people say like, oh, how could it be so global warming if it's cold out so cold in the winter? That's not the effect. People misunderstand that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, let's go to the halls and wonder what the students of RHS think about global warming.
We went around asking people what global warming is. What's global warming?
I don't know, but I love Earth.
To be honest, I couldn't tell you for sure, but go Earth, go green.
Donald Trump said it's not true, but it is true.
It's a hoax. What's global warming? What's global warming? Oh my god.
I really can't answer that.
Like the trapping of like greenhouse gases.
What's global warming?
What's what?
Global warming.
Weather. Like globally warming, like all around is like warming, right? No. It's not a circle.
Is it a circle?
It's like global warming, like globally warming. That's what I think.
So
it is.
heat.
Yes.
Heat
like
wave.
The sun. Cars. Glaciers.
Global warming is when all the what's that thing called? The gas, the bad methane. Is it methane? It's bad. It's one of the bad gases. Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. When all the carbon dioxide goes up into the atmosphere and it gets trapped by our atmosphere, that's called the greenhouse effect. And what that does is it melts all the glaciers and it makes the world warmer, which is terrible.
Thanks, guys. Well, I mean, that's when you look at all these kind of different varied opinions on global warming, what people think about it. I think, well, first of all, one of the biggest keys to stopping global warming is even, I think, possibly more important than just cutting back the emissions or alternative energy, things like that, is misinformation, because people are being misled constantly about the reality that is the human race will not survive for many more generations if we continue on the path that we're going on. That's a fact. So, I mean, fighting misinformation is a huge part of it. So to kind of try to bring it down to a human level, instead of talking about all these huge, catastrophic, apocalyptic consequences, just you look at some of the individual health effects that are already happening now, and just keep in mind we're in the very, very beginning stages of this. It's only going to get worse from here. But already, global warming has killed multiple people directly and indirectly through, you raise vector-borne diseases. They're up astronomically, and there's multiple links to global warming that causes this. These are kind of diseases that are carried by mosquitoes, black flies, things like that. Salmonella is up. Malnutrition and food poisoning because the crops are hugely adversely affected by effects of global warming.
Yeah. Another thing that I found was everyone knows what asthma is, but a lot of people don't know how many people are affected by asthma. I know there are many different kinds of asthma, many different triggers, but the air pollution caused by global warming influences all of those. It makes people sometimes unable to breathe. I've seen cities like Mexico City. They're just covered in a layer of smog. Like LA too. Yeah, it's just, first of all, not healthy, and second of all, it can trigger a reaction that could be deadly, potentially deadly. Other effects, like Josh said, it affects foodborne diseases. Not only that, but it affects the difficulty with growing food. With more dangerous weather, crops are more likely to be destroyed. And it's not just a little bit more rain, a little bit more wind. It's hurricanes more often, tornadoes in places you wouldn't expect, like maybe Detroit. You've heard of those tornado warnings in the past few weeks alone. You felt the difference in the wind. The 20-mile-an-hour winds that seem to be like 3 days straight. Another effect is fewer cold days. We mentioned this earlier. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be warmer. It just means in the larger scale, there's less winter, more summer, more heat waves, more drought, just things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I don't want to miss out on my cold days and my snow days. I very much enjoy those, so I don't want to. But I mean, it's not all bad news. There's a lot of countries that, and even there's a lot of things we're doing, a lot of things other countries are doing to try to combat this, because science is bringing up more and more information that supports this. So more and more people are starting to try to make a difference. So we have some students that took a closer look on that. So why don't we go to them?
In 2015, the United States Environmental Protection Agency pledged to minimize carbon pollution from our power plants by nearly a third by 2030. Also in 2015, solar and wind power provided more than 5% of the U.S. for the first time, and construction started on the country's first ever offshore wind power project. Chemicals that contribute to global warming, such as hydrofluorocarbons that are used in air conditioners, are being produced less throughout the country. At the United Nations Conference on Climate Change in Paris, 195 countries, including the U.S., agreed to cutting pollution. To help make this deal happen, the Obama administration pledged $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund. Under the terms of the Paris Agreement, the nations that participated in this deal will meet every 5 years, starting in 2020, to revise their plan of cutting CO2 transmissions. By 2023, they will report their progress publicly.
Thanks, guys. I mean, that's all good stuff when you look at all the solutions people are trying to make. But, I mean, I was wondering the other day, because when I was doing some more research for this, I was looking at, and I kind of thought to myself, is it too late? Like, are we too far gone to come back from any of this stuff in a real way? I looked it up, and it's not that we're too late. It's just the greenhouse effect is a very long process. So even if we turn it around, let's say theoretically we stop on a dime right now. We turned it all around. We cut our CO2 like immensely, and we started using alternative energies and all that, we would still be feeling the effects of this for like 50 to 100 years, something like that. But if we keep going like this, it's going to be basically an eternity, and it's going to get not just worse, exponentially worse. But, I mean, the good news is we are slowing down. The ozone layer is starting to repair itself, actually, which is really good news, because skin cancer is bad. So, I mean,
yeah, I feel like that fact that the damage has already been done, but it has potential to recover. I think that oftentimes it's not enough incentive for people to actually change. In the long run, it's just a matter of how many people do their part. How many people lower their carbon footprint? How many people lower their emissions? How many people start using solar energy? For example, I remember during this past election, Trump mentioned that he wanted to restart using coal. Well, I've heard many scientists come out and say that's just not the right path. Like, coal has already been passed by solar energy in many nations in many ways. It's just smarter for the long term to become renewable, basically work with our environment rather than working against it.
Yeah, I mean, so that to me that is the scariest thing about Donald Trump is the whole the energy thing, the fact that he doesn't really seem to believe in global warming. That is like, because that is a human-wide problem, like a species-wide issue. But even despite that, I mean, you have a lot of the modern nations joined this sort of pledge, and it's Kyoto. I'm not sure. I can't remember where it started, but they all joined this. They had this pact basically, and they all took different pledges to go on. U.S. and Canada matched each other. Originally, Canada had a different pledge, but they matched us eventually. They came back down to our level. It was we're going to drop our emissions by 17% of what they were in 2005 by 2020. So that is, that's huge if that can work. If multiple countries are doing that, especially the big, industrial countries. The problem is developing nations are sort of exempt from this because they need to develop, quickly. And India is the third highest in emissions, in CO2 emissions, and they're a developing nation. So they're not. But the good news is they're not just ignoring this. They're contributing in a different way. They're not cutting their emissions, but they're transitioning to renewable energy. They're transitioning. They have a lot of the wind turbines. They have some. They have a lot of solar energy they're investing in. So they're not immediately cutting their CO2, but they're trying to make a shift. So it's just I'm happy to hear that multiple industrial nations are trying to cut back. They're trying to make a difference. And even outside of industrial, you look at just like a person, like the way you said, how many people are going to cut their, make a difference. Like right now, we're using the light bulbs they talked about in that piece they did. We're using those energy-saving light bulbs right now for these studio lights. I mean, it's just little stuff like that. If everyone does little stuff, it adds up and it becomes big stuff. So, I mean, that's all I have to say on it.
Yeah. Let's take a little shift and see global warming's effect on you.
Did you know we have a weather tracking website here at RHS? Well, we asked Ms. Weller a little bit more about it.
Who runs On the Dot?
Joe Rabnicki and Nick Janeski. They're RHS graduates, and they both go to Michigan State University.
What is it?
On the Dot Weather Authority is a website that they built using live weather stations that are here in Wyandotte, and they designed it kind of with me to really adhere to how we study weather in my class, and they put it in categories like forecasting, radar, all the daily weather, and so it's kind of like live weather tracking.
How does it benefit your students?
It benefits them because if you log in to the weather at Detroit Metro Airport, which is through any of the major news sites, you're not getting the live weather for Wyandotte at that moment. So it benefits my students because it's real-time weather from right here at this location.
Will you continue to keep it up and running?
I hope they continue to keep it up and running. I definitely keep in touch with both of them, and as they're in college. And so I will hope that they keep it up and running because I don't maintain the website. So if they don't, we'll have to come up with our own solution.
Wow, thanks, Ms. Weller. I never knew that. Now back to the anchors.
Do you, RHS, think you know your facts about global warming? Let's go and find out.
No place on Earth is colder today than it was 100 years ago.
False.
True.
True or false? Global warming is sped up by the melting of ice glaciers.
True.
True. No, it's a factor. True, yeah, absolutely true.
True.
True or false? Global warming is only due to natural factors.
False.
False. False.
False.
False. Global warming and climate change are real and due to human causes.
I'm just really good at global warming.
On Saturday, March 11th, DECA heads to States. On Sunday, March 12th, it's the beginning of Daylight Savings Time. On Tuesday, March 14th, is Pi Day. On March 15th in 1937, the first blood bank was created. On Friday, March 17th, is St. Patrick's Day. On Saturday, March 18th, is our St. Patrick's Day glow dance.